Hi there, it's Coach Will, and today I'm going to be taking you through the process of counting your calories and macros as easily as possible using a weight scale or food scale and a app like MyFitnessPal. There's plenty of apps out there, but I'm more familiar with MyFitnessPal, so that's what we're going to be using for today's example. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, the most important thing that you're going to need in order to track your calories as accurately as possible is a food scale. These are pretty inexpensive. You don't have to go with anything fancy. Get the most affordable option from Walmart, Canadian Tire, Amazon. Pretty straightforward. Make sure that when you're setting it up, it's in a nice flat surface. Otherwise, your results are going to be skewed. Turn it on and make sure that you're starting off at 0, especially when putting on a plate, a container. You have to make sure that you hit tare or that your scale is showing 0 before you add any of the food choices that you're going to be measuring. For the first example, I have my sourdough bread here, right? So this is very important. If I were to go based on the size portions, it says 2 slices, 240 calories, right? Now, if you look at this loaf of bread, if you look at the whole thing, you can see that not every slice is evenly distributed. So that's a very rough estimate if I were to go based on the size. If I were to go based on 2 slices, ideally we use the scale as much as we can. Anytime we are able to use the scale, we will use it because that's going to give us the most accurate results. I have 2 slices out, pretty straightforward, right? You can see the difference in sizes here. If I were to place it on the scale, let's see how much it weighs. That's 105 grams, right? So that's a little bit off from the 96 grams suggested in the back of the label, right? So 2 slices or 96 grams. Right? You could see how if we were to do this multiple times throughout the day, how we would be eating hidden calories and ultimately sabotaging our diets and the calorie goal that we're trying to hit. I'm going to take my calories, I'm going to take my grams that I weighted from the sourdough bread, and I'm going to go towards MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal is the one that I've been using for years and I'm familiar with, but you can use multiple apps, including my personal app that you're familiar with if you're working with me. But MyFitnessPal does a great job. Keep in mind that it is free. You don't have to pay for the premium service. It's going to ask you a couple times if you want to use the premium service. Just hit the cross in the top corner there and make sure that you don't pay for it, of course, unless you want to. Now, I can simply look up the name and the brand, or I could just search on the search bar for sourdough bread, and I could get a pretty general one, but again, I want to be as accurate as possible. We have a barcode on this one, so I'm going to scan the barcode using the scan barcode option here. It's going to make our life much easier, and we're going to avoid any generalizations. We want to be as specific as possible. I'm going to point that at the barcode, and boom, it comes right up. From there, again, even when it pops up on the app here, it gives me the choice to go based on the 2 slices options. Now, we know that 2 slices based on this label is approximately 96 grams. Now, my weight on the scale showed 105 grams, and I want to be able to enter the grams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click where it says 2 slices and change that to grams instead. So I'm going to click the 1 gram option, and I'm going to enter 105 grams. Now, as you can see, I have 262 calories here based on 105 grams compared to 240 grams per 2 slices, which is a more general approach. That's an extra 22 calories to be exact. Again, if we were to do that throughout the day with multiple food options, you'll be eating or consuming more calories than you should and ultimately failing on your diets. You'll be wondering why you're not making the results or seeing the results that you were hoping for. That's the most accurate way to do that, right? Once I enter that, you would see that my calorie goal went down, and now I'm able to see my remaining calories for the day, right? The number one and most important thing about dieting is to make sure that we're staying within the calorie goal that we're set out to be. Otherwise, we're not going to see the results that we want. Now, of course, we know that tracking our carbs, fat, and protein and so forth also helps with the energy and making sure that we're building muscle, and for recovery and performance is very important as well. So those are other things that we take into consideration, but obviously for our weight goals, calories is the most important thing. Make sure that we're tracking as accurately as possible. Using the scale, use the scale as much as possible. Only rely on scoops and other portions and slices like we have on the bread here if that's your only option left on the table. All right. Next, we're going to weigh our whey protein. This one's a little bit different because we have a container and we want to make sure that we get the accurate weight without the weight of the container. You have two ways of doing this. Depending on your scale, it might be a little bit different. You might have to play around a little bit. For the most part, it's pretty general. You can either start from your scale being completely turned off and turning it on once you have the container. For me, it's going to be the shaker bottle here, and it's going to automatically start you off at 0, right? But sometimes you're already cooking and you already have a few things going on, and you're going to switch containers, or you already had something in there, and now you're adding a container, and as you can see, the weight on my scale is going up and it's displaying the weight of the container. Now I want to be careful because obviously I don't want to put all of the weights of the container into my FitnessPal. That's going to throw everything off. You usually have a tare button somewhere on your scale. For me, it's the 0 button right here. Other devices sometimes show tare, and that's going to start us off back to 0. From there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my scoop. Before I get going here, I'm going to show you again on the label here of my protein shake. It says that 1 scoop is about 36 grams. That's 130 calories. Now I'm going to show you the difference that it makes. I can pack as much powder as possible into that scoop, and it could very well be 40 grams instead of 36 grams. And again, I'll be consuming more calories than I should. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to try to pack on as much powder into that scoop as possible, and you can see what I'm talking about, right? I packed it quite a bit. I even rounded it out a little bit, right? But it's still 1 scoop, technically speaking. So let's put that in the bottle and see what it shows us, right? Crazy, that's actually 58 grams. Technically, that's still the same scoop, right? If I take those 58 grams, let me just get this powder out of my hand here. If I take those 58 grams, again, I'm going to take you through the process of entering that so that you get a little bit more practice, right? I'm going to scan the barcode. Again, as soon as I have, if I have that, wow, that picked up the barcode from really far away. Anytime I have the barcode, I'm going to make use of it because that's going to give me the most accurate search for the products that I'm looking to enter into my FitnessPal or whichever app you're using. But you can always use the search bar as well, and it should pop up. So if I go to search for food and I enter the brand, or if I enter whey protein, it usually gives you a pretty good option. But again, I want to keep it as accurate as possible, so I'm going to use the scan barcode option, right? If I were to go with the 1 scoop option, which is the standard here, that would be about 130 calories. But I weighed everything so far, and I know that for the whey protein that I just put it there is showing me 58 grams. Again, I'm going to go down, I'm going to pick the 1 gram option, and I'm going to enter 58. Instead of being 130 calories, based on that 1 scoop, we have 209 calories. Right? This is why it's so important to make sure that you take the extra step and weigh everything, right? If you want to get the best results, if you want to make sure that you're staying in a calorie deficit or staying in your caloric goal, that you weigh everything. Otherwise, it's going to be a hit or miss. And using the example here of the whey protein, look at how big of a difference that is based on the label. Try to weigh everything as much as possible, all right? And again, I'm always going to click on that. Once I have that, it's going to subtract that from my daily goal of calories, right? There you have it. Goal was 1,800 calories. I have 1,300 remaining, just over 1,300. Pretty straightforward, right? And again, you can also see your carbs, you can also see your fats and protein. It's going to affect your energy, recovery, and so there you have it. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. It's a little bit tedious at first, but the more you practice, the easier it gets. As you can see, weighing everything makes a huge difference. You can't just go based on the label and the standard portions mentioned back there. Always go based on the weight. That's going to be your best bet. That's going to be the most accurate bet. And if you're looking to get the best results as possible, that's the way to do it. If you start using portions and you start guessing, it's going to be a hit or a miss. It can actually fluctuate big time, as you can see from the example that we used with the whey protein there. So I hope you find that helpful. Keeping it simple and pretty straightforward. Practice that. I promise you, this is the easiest way to get the best results possible, taking all the guesswork out of the equation.